Hello friends, today I am going to discuss the one unit from paper number 15. The title of our paper number 15 is Biotechnology and Paleobotany. So under the heading of this paper, Biotechnology and Paleobotany, we are going to study total 4 major units. The initial 3 units are coming from biotechnology and last unit is coming from this paleobotany. That means this is the 4th unit in the paper number 15 named as a paleobotany. So today I am going to discuss some important aspects in the 4th unit paleobotany. So today I am going to discuss the 3 important aspects of this paleobotany unit, namely general account of paleobotany, then secondly the scope and objectives of this paleobotany, and lastly I am going to discuss the process of fossilization. So initially I am going to define the term paleobotany under the heading of general account. Under the heading of general account, you must know what is the meaning of this term paleobotany. Then we must know what is the meaning of this term fossil. So as far as this branch paleobotany is concerned, it is an important branch of botany which deals with the study of ancient plants, or commonly called as plants of geological past. That means this important branch known as paleobotany is dealing with the study of the plants of geological past. So on the other hand, we can also define this paleobotany as the branch of botany which deals with the study of fossils. So we know very well what are the fossils. So what is the meaning of this term fossil? So the plants in the ancient time, they are preserved in the form of their parts, commonly called as plant remnants. So this plant remains or remnants of the plants which are generally found in sedimentary rocks. So these plant remains which are found in the sedimentary rocks, and the study of these plant remains found in the sedimentary rocks are generally called as fossils. So this term fossil is basically Latin word. Meaning of this term, basic term is a fodder. So what is the meaning of this fodder? Fodder means to dig out. In Latin, meaning of this word fodder is to dig out. That means most of the fossils are dug out from or obtained by digging the sedimentary rocks. So the plants which were living very happily in the past, they become extinct. That means the extinction of plants basically takes place due to 2 reasons: due to change in climatic conditions as well as due to earthquakes. That means these 2 reasons are responsible for the formation of the fossils. That means change in the climatic conditions as well as earthquakes are responsible for the extinction of the plants. That means we know very well, in the ancient days, some animals were living happily on the earth's surface. For example, dinosaur. So recently, no living organism like dinosaurs are available because they become extinct because of sudden change in the climatic conditions in the past, in the ancient days, as well as many plants are also happily living in the past. But today, some plants are not available today in living form. That means such kind of some animals as well as some plants which become extinct due to sudden change in climatic conditions as well as due to the earthquake, they are buried in the deeper layers of the soil. So extinction of the plants takes place due to these two reasons I have told you earlier, due to climatic changes as well as due to earthquakes. So plant parts preserved in the sedimentary rocks, which are commonly called as fossils. So this process of formation of fossils is commonly called as a fossilization process. So this formation of fossil takes place millions of years. That means it is a very slow process. That means the fossil available in the form of, mostly fossils are available in the form of fragments of the plant or fragments of the plant body. So they may be available in the form of vegetative parts of the plants like root, like stem, like leaf, as well as reproductive parts like fruits, as well as pollens, as well as spores. That means the plant remnants are available in the form of different fragments of the plants like root, stem, leaf, as well as reproductive structures like fruit and pollens as well as spores. So as per the rules of International Botanical Congress, each fossil is a detached part of plant or organ is given a separate name. For example, if a leaf of particular plant is fallen and it is preserved, if stem is fallen, it is preserved in the earth crust, in the sedimentary rock. So each detached part of the plant which becomes fossil after millions of years. So this detached part of the plant, it may be root, it may be stem, it may be leaf, it may be fruit, is considered as a separate genus. That means detached part of the plant given separate name. That means separate name is given for the leaf, separate name is given for the root fossil, separate name is given for the stem fossil, even though these parts or fragments of the same or individual plant. That means this fragment of plant acquires the status of genus. So for example, we know the Lepidodendron. Is the name of one fossil. It is a stem genus. It is the stem of this plant. Then if we see Lepidocarpon. So this Lepidocarpon is the fruit genus, while this Lepidodendron is the stem genus. That means the Lepidodendron is the name of stem, Lepidocarpon is the name of the fruit of the individual plant or same plant. Even though these are the parts of different same plant, stem and fruit, it is considered as a separate genus, fruit genus, Lepidocarpon. It is considered as a separate genus known as Lepidodendron. That means this Lepidodendron silaginodis is the name of this ancient plant. It is available in two forms. In the form of stem fossil known as Lepidodendron, and in the form of fruit fossil it is known as Lepidocarpon. That means each fragment of the individual plant acquires the status of genus, separate genus as per the laws of International Botanical Congress. So this process of fossilization is very slowly. Process of fossilization takes place very slowly and it requires many years. So then we shall see the second aspect in our topic, scope and objectives of this branch paleobotany. So there are different objectives of this paleobotany, and as far as scope of this branch is concerned, this paleobotany branch is very important today also. That means there is a lot of scope for this branch. So I am going to discuss one by one the scope and objectives of this paleobotany. The first is to know the type of vegetation existed in the past. That means by the study of the different fossils known for us, with the help of different types of fossils, by the study of different types of fossils, we can judge about what kind of vegetation was existed in the past. So I have told you earlier, different animals, they become extinct. Different plants available in the past, they become extinct. That means different plants as well as animals, those which are not available in living form today, but their remnants are available in the form of fossils. So what kind of plants are available? What kind of plants were available in the past? We can judge from the study of fossils. That means different types of plants are available today. These plants are evolved. That means due to change in climatic conditions, the vegetation also changes. And in the ancient days, what kind of ecological conditions may be there, what kind of plant vegetation was there, we can judge about the ancient vegetation with the help of study of the fossils. This is the first objective of this branch paleobotany. Then second objective is we can judge about the past history of the plant life. That means we can reconstruct the past history of plant life. That means I have told you the different types of plants are available today. Algae, fungi, bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperm, angiosperm, climbers, lianas. So different variety of plant, different types of plants are available. So by knowing the different types of fossils, by studying the different types of fossils, the past history of the plant life can be reconstructed. The past history of the plant life can be reconstructed by studying the different types of fossils which are recorded all over the world. Then third objective, we can decide the probable time and mode of origin of the different plant groups. So I have told you, different plant groups are available today. These groups are categorized into two categories for our convenience of study: cryptogamy plants and phanerogams or flowering plants or higher plants. So we can decide the probable time and mode of origin of the different plant groups coming under these two categories. Cryptogamic plants, there are different forms. Angiospermic plants, gymnospermic plants, that means higher plants, flowering plants or spermatophytes. So how they are evolved, how they are produced in the past, that means the mode of origin of the ancient plants, as well as the probable time of occurrence of this plant, we can know with the help of study of the fossils. Then next, the further study of phylogeny and evolution of the plants. So I have told you earlier, the human being, the modern man, is evolved from our ancestors. The modern vegetation which is available today, it is also evolved. That means the evolution takes place in plants as well as evolution takes place in animals. So with the help of study of fossils, we can know the phylogeny or phylogenetic relationship between different plants. That means how the plants are evolved. That means as far as flowering plants are concerned or higher plants are concerned, these higher plants are evolved from pteridophytes. So many examples are available. Many examples are available in nature. With the help of these examples, we can prove how the flowering plants are evolved from pteridophyte plants. That means ancestors of the flowering plants are pteridophytes. Pteridophytes. That means as like this, many plant groups are available today, which can be studied under the heading of cryptogamic plants, as well as another group known as spermatophytes or higher plants or flowering plants or seed-bearing plants. So we can judge about the phylogenetic relationship between the different plants, as well as we can also judge about how the evolution takes place and how the modern plants vegetation is developed, as well as how the modern man is developed. We can judge up from the study of the evolution or fossils. Then next objective is fossil plants gives historical approach to the plant kingdom. That means under the heading of this plant kingdom, we can study different types of plants under the heading of plant kingdom, like cryptogamic plants like algae, fungi, bryophyte, pteridophyte, as well as all flowering plants or higher plants or seed-bearing plants. That means the fossil plant gives the historical approach to the plant kingdom. Historical approach to the plant kingdom, and it's by the study of its ancestors of the different plants in the form of available in the form of fossils. In the form of fossils, the historical approach of the plant kingdom can be studied with the help of study of these fossils. The plant fossils are helpful to classification of the plants. So, for detailed study of the plant, we must classify the plants. Taxonomy is a separate branch in our botany in order to study the plants in proper way. That means plant fossils are also helpful for the making the classification systems of the plant or classification of the different plants. That means I have told you how cryptogams are differentiated from spermatophytes or flowering plants. Plants which don't bear flower, it may includes algae, fungi, bryophyte, pteridophyte. They are commonly called as cryptogams. Plant which bears flowers, they are commonly called as spermatophytes or higher plants. That means this is the basic classification, depending upon whether the plant is bearing flower or not. So like that, many criteria are used for classification of the plants. For example, algae. Algae is further classified into different divisions like Cyanophyta, Rhodophyta, Phaeophyta, and so on. Fungi are also classified into different categories. Bryophytes are also classified into different categories. Higher plants are also classified into different categories. So for the classification of different plants, the fossil plants also gives some clues for the classification of different plants. Then next objective, reconstruction of ancient ecological systems and climate. So what kind of ancient ecological system was there? That means I have told you the climate changes. Climate changes. As the climate changes, it affects the plant life. It affects the animal life also. That means the ecological systems. So today we consider the ecological groups like hydrophytes, mesophytes, xerophytes, epiphytes, parasites, etc. So plants which are growing in the deserts, they are commonly called as xerophytes. Plants which are growing in the water or aquatic bodies, they are commonly called as hydrophytes. Plants which are commonly growing in moderate climatic conditions, they are commonly called as mesophytic plants. So the different ecological conditions are responsible for the development of these different ecological groups. That means what kind of ancient ecological systems was there and what kind of climatic conditions was there in the ancient days. So this study of the fossils gives idea about the ancient climatic conditions as well as ecological systems. That means the paleoecology gives the idea about ancient ecological conditions, and this paleophytogeography. So we know the meaning of this term, phytogeography. That means our India is divided into 10 phytogeographic regions. We know very well. We have studied already 10 phytogeographic regions. That means the distribution of plants in different regions. are categorized into these 10 regions. And we can study this different types of plants which are occurring in different climatic regions or geographical areas can be studied under the heading of phytogeography. So recent phytogeography is different, ancient phytogeography is different. That means in the ancient days, what kind of plants are growing in the ancient days, in which region particular plants were growing, we can judge from the study of fossils. That means the knowledge of paleoecology is dealing with or giving the idea about ancient climatic conditions and distribution of plants in past, in before millions of years. This paleophytogeography gives idea about the distribution of plants in the past. So fossil plants can be used in the field of comparative anatomy as well as comparative morphology. That means different types of fossils, some fossils of leaves, some fossils of the stem, some fossils of the fruits, some fossils of the pollens, some fossils of the flowers are recorded. They are studied, and with the help of this study of these different types of fossils, some fossils can retain the all anatomical details. For example, which fossils can retain anatomical conditions of the plant as like living plant? These fossils are commonly known as petrified fossils. So these petrified fossils gives all cellular details like epidermis, hypodermis, cortex, endodermis, xylem tissue, phloem tissue, pith tissue. That means all anatomical details are preserved in such petrified fossils. So by studying different types of petrified fossils, fossils of the root, fossils of the stem, etc., we can judge about the anatomy. And for this comparative anatomical studies, the fossils plays important role for comparative anatomical details, or comparative anatomical studies, as well as comparative study of morphological characters also. Fossils are giving the idea for comparative anatomy as well as comparative morphology of the plants. Then in the field of archaeology, this branch plays important role. Then exploration of oil and chlor. So today we are using the fossil fuels like petroleum products as well as petrol, diesel, kerosene, etc. So these petrol and diesel, these are the biological products. These are the plant origin. Oil is a plant origin, having plant origin, as well as this another component known as coal. This coal is also the another fossil fuel. That means these fuels like petroleum product as well as coal, they are commonly called as a fossil fuels. And throughout the world, these fossil fuels are generally used today as an energy. That means fossil plants provide us the coal, fossil plants provides us the oil. That means for the exploration of this coal mines, excavation of the coal, we must know coal is available in this region. We must know where the oil is available. So for detecting the coal mines as well as oil refineries, we can drill the soil. And study the different types of fossils found in this different earth layers by drilling. So certain fossils which are found in the different earth layers, they are commonly called as the index fossils. And with the help of index fossils, we can know if certain types of fossils are found in this strata or layer of the earth. It indicates the oil refinery is definitely available here, or oil is available in this region. So in our state, Bombay High, you know very well, oil refinery is there. So this is identified with the help of fossils. Then in our state, coal mines are generally found in Vidarbha and Marathwada, mostly Vidarbha. That means in Chandrapur district, coal mines are available. So what is this coal? The ancient plants, due to earthquake, the plants get buried in the earth crust, and these buried plants get converted into coal. That means this, for the identification of the coal in the earth crust as well as identification of the oil in the earth crust, these fossils gives the idea. I have told you earlier, this index fossils generally gives the idea about the exploration of this oil and coal, which is very important source of energy throughout the world. Then for determining the age of the rocks. So if fossils are recorded or reported in particular sedimentary rocks, and with the help of these fossils, we can also judge the age of these rocks, sedimentary rocks. So we know very well the carbon dating technique is generally used for determining the age of the plant as well as animals which are preserved in the earth crust. That means for the determining the age of the rocks, the fossils are very important. Then last, finally, the paleopalynology. So what is the meaning of this paleopalynology? So palynology, I have told you earlier. Here, paleoecology means study of ancient climatic conditions known as paleoecology. Then paleophytogeography, distribution of plants in ancient days, in the past. Like this, the paleopalynology. Palynology is the term which is related with the study of pollens and spores. So ancient pollens, study of ancient pollens and spores is commonly called as paleopalynology. So this paleopalynology branch is also very essential for the study of different types of plants, spores of different types or pollens of the different types which were preserved in the earth crust. Then finally, I am going to discuss the process of fossilization. So as far as the process of fossilization is concerned, the plant remains have turned into fossils since the deposition of sedimentary particle begins. That means how the fossils formation begins. In the process of fossilization, main thing is the plant material is turned into fossils. So when plant material or plant remains or plant fragments have turned into fossils since the deposition of sedimentary rock or sedimentary particles begins. So the plant part may be deposited on the site where the plants were growing, or the plant part, it may be root, it may be stem, it may be leaf, it may be pollen, it may be fruit, it may be carried away by the flow of river water and deposited beneath the water. That means formation of fossil bed takes place in the vicinity of plant where the plant was growing. That means site of the fossil formation may be in the vicinity of the plant or away from the plant. That means the site of the fossilization is generally swamps and lakes. So these swamps and lakes are the sites of formation of the fossils. So these small lakes or swamps where the process of fossilization begins. So when process of fossilization begins, it requires particular conditions. That means if O2 contents is less in water in the swamp or lake, as well as if toxic substances are more in the water in the lake or swamp, these two conditions, less availability of water in the water body and toxic compounds or toxic substances are more in the water body, these two things are beneficial for preserving the plant material as it is. That means if oxygen is not available, decaying process stops. If oxygen is not available, decaying process stops and plant material remains as it is. That means microbial action on organic material of the plant is prevented. So the process of the fossilization is gradual and very slow. So I have told you earlier, for the formation of fossil, any fossil, it may be root fossil, it may be stem fossil, it may be fruit fossil or seed fossil. For the formation of fossil of ancient plant, millions of years are required. That means formation of fossil requires millions of years. It is very slow process and it is a gradual process. So during the process of fossil formation, in the living plant cells, the living component protoplast first disintegrates. Then soft tissues like parenchyma, collenchyma, phloem, they disintegrate later on. And finally, the hard tissue remain for a long time. So these hard tissue, which are not decayed, which remains as it is, they play an important role in the formation of fossils. For example, if this tissue is available here, for example, this is the plant tissue, which is the lignified tissue. So this lignified tissue, originally these lignified tissues are empty. They are lacking protoplast. Their walls are hard, thick. They are made up of lignin. So these are empty cells. So when water passes through these cells, empty cells, the water is containing minerals. So when these minerals are passed from these cells through these cells, slowly deposition of minerals takes place inside these lignified cells, and due to continuous deposition of the minerals, the cells are totally filled up by the minerals and they turned into fossils. That means due to infiltration. What is the meaning? What is the term used for this process? Passing of water with minerals through the cells, infiltration. That means due to infiltration of the minerals through the dead cells like sclerenchyma, xylem, etc., the cells becomes stone-like or hard, and finally these fossils are formed from this plant part. So that means the petrified fossils are generally produced in this fashion. Infiltration of minerals is responsible for formation of petrified type of fossils. So fossilization process depends upon the conditions. If the conditions are favorable, fossil formation takes place very easily. If conditions are not favorable, there is no possibility of the fossil formation. So there are 4-5 conditions are essential for formation of the fossils. The first condition for fossilization is the organism should be buried rapidly. In order to prevent these organisms from scavengers as well as the damage caused by this plant organ due to wind, water as well as temperature fluctuations. That means this is the first initial important condition for the process of fossilization. That means organism should be buried very rapidly. The second condition is the distance between place of the plant and fossilization should be less. That means if the plant is growing in this particular area, if fossilization begins in the vicinity of the plant area, in the inhabiting area of the plant, then fossil formation process is easily taking place. if the distance between the place of the plant and process of fossilization very long due to transportation of different plant parts like fruits, pollens, flowers, leaves, or any fragment of the plant to the long distances, there is a possibility of the decaying process. That means if the distance is slow, there is a more possibility of the starting the process of fossilization. Then for the process of fossil formation, aerobic conditions are not essential. That means oxygen is responsible for degradation of the organic matter which is preserved in the organisms. It will be plant, it will be animal. That means anaerobic conditions favors the process of fossilization. And finally, the plant organ should have hard tissue. The last condition for fossilization is if plant organ is having soft tissue, there is a more possibility of decaying process. If plant organ is having more hard tissue or dead tissue, there is less possibility of the decaying process. And if these four conditions are available, then process of fossilization goes on and development of fossils takes place. So most of the fossils are reported or recorded in sedimentary rocks. That means fossilization always occurs in sedimentary rocks. So that's all about this, our today's three aspects of this paleobotany: general account, scope and objective, and the process of fossilization. Thank you.